So we just had our PowerPoint about poetry, and I gave the directions for you to get your reading journal and cut out your little poems. So if you've not done that, stop me, pause me, and go do that. Okay? We're going to take some notes on 4 kinds of poems, and then we're going to try to see if we can figure out which of those poems fits where. So you need to have your reading journal, and I want you to turn it vertically. So normally it would be like this. Turn it vertically, no, horizontally, sorry, where the holes are at the top, okay? And we're going to draw a line right down the middle. We're going to make like a T-chart, and it's called a T-chart because it looks like the letter T, okay? And so we're going to draw just a small space up top so we can have put our heading here. And we are going to write 2 kinds of poems on this side and then 2 kinds of poems on the other side. So the first kind of poem we're going to talk about is called Free Verse. A free verse poem. That was actually in one of our poems, whoops, that we read in our PowerPoint. So a free verse poem, what word do you hear in that? Hear the word free. So a free verse poem is free. It doesn't have any rules and no patterns. So there's no rules and no patterns. Make sure you write up at the top. Don't write in the middle of it, because eventually when we finish, we're going to be gluing one of the poems in here. So make sure you just write it up at the top. So a free verse poem doesn't have any rules, no pattern. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to have all the same letters. It doesn't have to, have 2 words that rhyme and then 2 words that, no rules. You can just write it and it be whatever you want. The next poem that we talked about is Limerick. And limerick a limerick poem does have rules, and we just saw it on our PowerPoint. So limericks are usually funny or silly. They have 5 lines. And they follow a pattern. And remember that pattern that we looked at in our PowerPoint was line 1, 2, and 5 rhyme, and line 3 and 4 rhyme. So this is how I'm going to write it. So A, lines 1 and 2 rhyme, so they would be like lines A. Lines 3 and 4 rhyme, so that's the letter B. It's the same letter because it's rhyming. And then line 5 rhymes with 1 and 2. That's why it's A, B, B, A. A are lines 1, 2, and 5, and they rhyme. And then lines 3 and 4 rhyme. Okay? So now we're going to take notes on 2 other kinds of poems. So turn your page over and do the same thing. Make another T-chart. Okay. Do the same thing. Remember, draw your lines kind of slow. Otherwise, when you draw them fast, it gets all crazy and wavy and crooked. All right, we also talked about a rhyming poem, and I feel like we know what that is. A rhyming poem. And a rhyming poem, the ending words have the same ending sound, okay? Dog, log, cat, rat, right? ending words have the same sound. Okay. And our last one was the fun one. It was the tongue twister one. Do you remember the word? It was a long word. Yes. Alliteration. And do you remember what my clue was on how we can remember what alliteration was? It had that word all in the beginning of it. So remember what alliteration is? Almost all the words start with the same sound, not letter, sound. Because like the letter G can make a G sound and a J sound, like my name. And the letter C can make a K sound and a S sound. So it doesn't have to be the same letter, it has to be the same sound. So almost all the words start with the same sound. Right? Doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to have that limerick, that A-A-B-B-A. Just almost all the words have to have the same sound. So right now, again, if you don't have your little poems cut out, pause me and go cut them out. We're going to do some work and see if we can figure out which poem is which. And if you want to challenge yourself, pause me, see if you can do it on your own, and then start me up and check your work. Don't glue it down, though, until you check your work. Glue last. Always glue last. Okay? So let's start off with, let's start off with this poem, Betty Botter. So find Betty Botter, and I'm going to read it out loud. See if you can figure out which poem it is, alliteration, rhyme, limerick, or free verse. Remember, free verse, no rules, it's free. Rhyming, they have ending words with the same sound. Alliteration, almost all the words have the same sound and start with the same sound. And limerick are the funny ones, and they have that A-A-B-B-A pattern. So let's figure out which one this is. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter, but a bit of butter will make my batter better. Which one? What do you notice? That one should be pretty easy. Yes, that is alliteration. Almost all the words start with the same sound. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter, but a bit of butter will make my batter better. Batter like when you're cooking. Let's see, where's my glue stick? Well, look at there, the teacher wasn't prepared. Let me go get my glue stick, hang on. Look at that. I was telling you to be ready. I wasn't ready, sorry. Okay. I'm going to glue that in for my example of alliteration. Now let's look at this one. I was sitting on the sand watching the clouds pass by. When I saw in the sky a lion and a bear, I said, "Oh my goodness," I said to myself, "I must be dreaming." Okay, so let's see here. Let's look at, since you're on the rhyming page, does it rhyme? Ending words have the same sound. Sand, by, bear, goodness, dreaming. Same sounds? So it can't be a rhyming poem. Let's look back at our other page. Let's look at limerick. 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That has 6 lines, so it's not a limerick. Free verse, no rules, no patterns. 5 lines? Nope. Does almost all the words start with the same sound? Nope. Does it rhyme? Nope. No rules, no patterns, free verse. Free verse. Okay. Let's see about this one. I eat my peas with honey. I've done it all my, what? Eat my peas with honey? Okay. I've done it all my life. It makes the peas taste funny, but it keeps them on my knife. So I don't know if you eat peas or not, but you know, the little round green ones, they kind of are hard to stay on your fork. So this little person is pretty clever. Puts the honey on her knife, puts the knife on top of the peas, and they stick to the knife. I would use a fork though. Okay, let's see. Is it a limerick? It is funny. Does it have 5 lines? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. Does it even follow the A, B, B? Do lines 1 and 2, honey and life, do those rhyme? Nope, so it can't be a limerick. Let's see. The ending words have the same sound. Honey, funny, life, knife. Honey and funny. And life and knife. Those rhyme. So it is a rhyming poem. Dun, da, da, da. That's interesting. Honey and peas. I don't know if I would try that. It's a good idea. All right, we have one poem left. It's probably limerick, but before you just glue it in, we always double check to make sure. Okay. Once there was a wonderful star who thought she would go very far until she fell down and looked like a clown and she knew she would never go far. Poor little star. Let's see. 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And does it follow our pattern? A, B, S. Let's see. So lines 1 and 2 and 5. Star, far, far. They rhyme. So that's A. And let's see if 3 and 4 rhyme. Down, clown. Yep, they rhyme. B, B. So, da, 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 it is a limerick. They don't have to be funny or silly, but they usually are. Okay. So there's our note on poetry. Good job. And if you want some extension, go on to Epic Books and read some poetry books. I love poetry. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of poetry books, just like there's a lot of everything on Epic. Obviously, you can tell I love Epic Books. Excuse me. Tongue twister. Go look up some tongue twisters and see if you and your mom or dad can be silly and say some tongue twisters together. That's a lot of fun. All right, we will continue working on our poetry later. Good job.